Hello, and welcome to another episode of Backwoods Progression with me, Brown and Kenku. It is another day. Unfortunately, we have to deal with this quality of video because my main camera did not work this day. The battery just didn't charge, whatever. That's since been fixed. But doing this walk, especially today, with everything so overgrown, absolutely reminded me that there's a lot that I want to be doing. There's so much out here that just isn't where it was last year, isn't where I want it to be. There's a lot more that could be done. Now, this cam does pick up audio way better, which is kind of interesting. So you get to hear a lot more of the nature sounds that I normally deal with that get muted away. But moreover, it's rough because there's a lot of effort that goes into doing this work. And this is the space I have the most contention about because all of this is clinging grass that just tears. You can almost hear it just tearing at my coat at this point. It's yay tall, like it's not something I can kind of ignore on this walk. It makes it... It's part of the reason why I didn't initially go that way, because that's such a bear, and now we're back into a more normalized setup that I've gotten to. It's a problem. It's something that I have to worry about, and I'm not okay with that. I just kind of accept at this point that depression is hard and I'm gonna have to do more to deal with it. Every day we struggle with the things in our lives. Every day we have to engage with all of these different things just to keep going. And it's unfortunate that things are so bad and things are so troublesome. And I was thinking specifically about a point coming up, but I'll try to get to when it gets there. But there are things in our life that we know aren't right, that we know shouldn't be the way they are. And we might not have the answer. A lot of the times there are tools out there that are the intended answer. But you may not know that that tool exists. You may not know what you're supposed to be doing, how you're supposed to be engaging with this kind of environment. And the more modern environment is one of our own creation, so we might not actually have answers for what we're supposed to be doing with that. So I rebought the floppers last week, and I got a lot of work done, but not in spaces that I film. So, like, there was a tree that was completely overgrown with vines. I got that managed. There's a space over by the pond, which I keep forgetting to walk to. That's completely overgrown. I really need to borrow a weed whacker and just kind of remake my paths to actually get into these spaces, because a lot of that is so much more than what I'm trying to do. There's only so much where I can feel like I'm getting into the space. It's easy, it's a thing I can see, there's obvious change. Because a lot of this I've just come to accept. And I was thinking more and more about, like, bills and debt and different, like, stressors on our lives. Even just, like, dishes that pile up if you're not doing them on the regular. Is a lot like the growing of these plants that are in my way. Like, there are things that just build up that you have to keep working at continuously, and when you let them go, suddenly it's a big task again. So, it's one of those things where I see the issue, I understand what I need to do. It's just about going out and doing it and making a project out of it. So there is a vine coming up around here that I trip on. And I've tripped on it, like, pretty much every week for the past month or two. Or maybe even longer. It could be years at this point. And I just forget. Because this is, what, 7 minutes away? And I end up getting distracted. The ADHD in me sees another little space or project that needs attention and just dives in on it. Dealing with something at the back of my walk, even if it's a thing that's, like, actively problematic, whereas all of these other things are just tangentially problematic, feels harder to get to. And I see that a lot in life. Like, there's a lot of people who are skirking their bills in favor of getting that blanket or, like, throw that just, like, fixes that more personal issue. Because that is at hand. The bill is a far off thing. It's paying for a service that you don't really put the same thing together. Like, paying the bill is way more separate from the thing that you're paying for. Like, unlike groceries or buying a thing on, say, Amazon, it's a more direct interaction. You're buying a thing. Whereas monthly recurring payments are, you're paying for a service. It's weird. They're different, and I can't quite put my finger on. And maybe that is it. There isn't a tangibility aspect to it. You can't put your finger on a Netflix service or a cleaning service per se, or storage. But especially with the heat, though, in back to the actual woods here, it's a pain to get geared up to deal with some of this stuff. Knowing that there's poison ivy, knowing that there's a lot involved. I'm wearing, like, rip-resistant swishy pants and, like, a jacket. Full-length, arm-sleeved, like, I am suited up such that my skin is not showing. It's it's very different from how, like, I'm dressed in very loose clothes right now. Um, More skin showing than, like, I would going into one of these scenarios. And it feels weird. Like, I understand that I don't want to be walking back here barefoot, but I have been walking a lot barefoot lately. But there is there is some merit to having, like, to not needing the big heavy boots and just being able to traverse this as a regular person wearing regular clothes. And maybe that's more of the goal that I haven't, like, put into words. Because, like, this is kind of fine. Some of these are a little tall, but for the most part, you can just kind of walk this. But, yeah. In this coming week, I really want to get the weed whacker out and better define some of these paths, because they deserve it. I deserve a better place to walk. And having that really matters. There was an interesting video I saw on affirmations, and it got into a lot of people focus on the I am of affirmations, but not like I feel, I need, I love, I speak, I think, I see. And that matters a lot for affirming our place in the spaces we're in and what we want to see and feel and love in this world. And that was truly a thing that points out the conflicts in our interest. Truly, it's interesting to me that you may want to have a nice backyard or backwoods, but you may not love the work. You may not see how you can do it. You might not be the person that needs to be doing it, to fixing it, to cutting down all this stuff. It's tricky, and that conflict resolution is part of the work. TM. So it's important to understand that in ourselves and get into a better space, better mindset on, like, what we can be doing. Here we are again at the grass, which you can see is quite high. The camera is on top of my head. It is sitting right here. So stuff is getting up to it, and all of this grass is clingy. It's not fun. So truly coming through here with the right tool for the job. I thought about using a scythe, like a full-ass scythe, to deal with some of this, because it's the more traditional tool. But those things need to be sharpened frequently. You need to understand how the tool is supposed to be used. So I might try it. We'll see how that goes. I'll definitely report back next week on whether or not that happened. But I feel like that little section is my current target and absolutely the stupid vine that I keep tripping over. We'll get back to that in a second, but uh, it's it's interesting, and I feel like the way I've structured this video is so important to me to look at last week, look at this week. Notice the things that are consistent. Notice the things that are different. Understand where problems are cropping up and like how to engage with them. If there's still problems from last week to this week, or if it's a new thing, a seasonal thing. And there's not enough medium that allows you to do this. Speedrunners actually get this. They have their run, and they're doing a current run, and side by side they'll have splits that will have the rundown of like the different key milestones of where they're at. And it feels a lot like that. Like, oh man, I ran into trouble at X to Y. But then from Y to Z, I was fine. But X to Y used to be a lot better. What's going on? What changed? What am I doing different now? And it might be as simple as, well, I sat down on the ground and a bee stung my ankle. Or in the same day, a wasp got stuck in my pants and bit the back of my leg. So, you know, could be just the desire to take care of oneself outweighs the need to fix the issues at hand. The desire for community may be stronger than the desire to have this space which isn't doing anything. Legitimately, like, this space meant a lot to me when I had someone coming out to see it. And I feel like because I don't have that, because I don't know when the next time I'm going to have someone visit is, this has gone into the back burners. But even before that, like, it was a thing I just did. Because I wanted access to this space, and now I have access. But there's nothing to do with that access. Like, I guess I'm further understanding why this went into full-on just overgrowth and reclaimed land. Because it's a pain to get back here. It's a pain to do anything back here. And as much as I've made this push for utilizing more of our space. Sorry about that. It's kind of for no reason. Like, this is my hobby, and that's really all it is. I want the forest to be good for its own merit. I want it to have its own identity and, like, not be, like, murdered out from the inside because of invasive species. It's weird. I felt more strongly about it earlier on, but lately the desire for community and community activities online has been really important. So I'm gonna keep doing this because I still feel like it's an important project, but for the most part, it has taken such a side that it feels like it's gonna get like, and I think this happens with a lot of hobbies when you step away from something so far. It can feel like an insurmountable thing to get back into it. I've been away from the board game scene for maybe 3, 4 years at this point, and it's gonna be hard to get back into it. There's a lot of new games, new mechanics, I'm sure, that have probably played out in the past couple years, as every hobby that evolves does. But it has to be a thing I want to do. I'm just not there yet. But I'm fully aware that I am able to do these things. I can get back into that if I wanted to. I proved this to myself specifically with Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, I never wanted to quit Yu-Gi-Oh! I feel like when I did, it was because the format was so toxic that it was unplayable. So I couldn't play. Getting back into it, it's very different. It was a math 13-year break, something like that. But I did my due diligence. I worked my way back in. I figured out how all the different mechanics worked and how the decks all play. But that was truly based on myself and how I wanted to do these things. How I could get into a more back into something I really enjoy. It's so important because I play, like, after I quit Yu-Gi-Oh! I got into Magic, and Magic never felt as fun. Like, I didn't enjoy the drafting. It was kind of whatever. You had to have a lot of, like, inherent knowledge about what's good in a sealed environment, and I just didn't have that. I didn't like the way that the value deteriorated, and, like, aside from Commander, you lost the value of almost all of your cards when things rotated out. It felt like a good system if you want to make money, but not so great a system for the player. Like, sure, it's more balanced, but they're creating new and unbalanced shit all the time, so, like, pick your poison. Like, you're gonna have new and unbalanced and unfair stuff coming out all the time. It just rotates out. So, and then all the shit with the anti-gay Chandra nonsense, which they've walked back apparently, but I'm still sketchy about that as far as I'm concerned. It's, they saw the bad press and just went like, okay, sure, yeah, she's gay, it's fine. But it feels weird. Same with Blizzard. I can't get into Diablo 4 because I remember what they were doing to their employees. There was aggressive stuff going on that it's it was a bad place for them. And it really showed in Diablo Immortal. But beyond that, it seems like nothing ever came about, and everyone's just like, yeah, sure, Diablo 4, I'm in. Like, okay, but what about this stuff that was problematic a couple years ago when there was a bad Diablo game? It's like, oh, we don't talk about that. That's swept under the rug for our convenience. That that stays down there. Like, no. Have your convictions. Make us think about things. Like, it's okay to be upset and tell people that you're upset about certain things. It's it goes into a lot of the issues with the current political system. A lot of people feel like they're being silenced, and it's not necessarily what's happening. Like, the option for greater options is being struck down. So, more often, it's just a problem. So, thank y'all for watching. Hopefully, I'll come back next week with some better news and some better progress. But remember to like, follow, subscribe if you're watching this on YouTube. And if you're watching on YouTube and you want to check out my Twitch, I play a lot of different games. There